Ghana is seen as one of the countries that many people want to invest in. Actually, the country is even hosting after. But if you are an investor and you want to come to Ghana, you're likely to face some issues, some mistakes. This podcast, which is the Invest Ghana podcast under the auspices of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, will look at ways to avoid all those mistakes. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Welcome. This podcast is also brought to you in partnership with Akona Port. They are the ones that have offered us their beautiful studio to do this recording. Now, I have two great gentlemen who will help us to see these mistakes, how to avoid them. And one of them is actually the boss of the Association of Ghana Industries. I'm sure you're familiar with him, Seth Chumakwabo. Seth, welcome.
Thank you.
And then I also have Evans Masari. He's a managing partner at KPMG. Evans, welcome as well.
Thank you very much.
So, gentlemen, I'll delve straight into the discussion. I mean, I had a person who invested in the Ghana oil and gas industry. He got banned because he was under a lot of assumptions, right? But you deal with businesses every day. You yourself, you're within the business enclave and everything. From the top of your head, which three mistakes do people make the most? Let's start with investors coming in, and then we'll look at those here, and then from the diaspora specifically.
Thank you very much. And indeed, let me add my voice to yours that indeed Ghana is a good investment destination. People who invest here, both from local sources and then those coming from abroad, you get good return on investment. But you need to get it right.
Yeah.
And therefore, getting it right means that you should avoid a lot of the pitfalls, the challenges that are associated with businesses. You need to know them and then avoid the common mistake that we make.
Yeah.
One mistake we make is that people make, as you said, a lot of assumptions. In business, you are investing resources, you're investing your time, you're investing your energy. So don't make the mistake of ignoring good professional advice. Start from there.
Why do you think people do these assumptions?
Sometimes they think it's costly.
Okay.
They think it's expensive to do so. They think they know. They think that I've read on the net, I've interacted with a few people. But whom have you interacted with? Are they the professionals? Do they give you the right information? If it's land acquisition, are you getting it from the right sources? So you don't make those assumptions. You actually go to the right institutions, talk to them. The GIPC is there. Organizations like the KPMGs and the rest are there. Associations like AGIs are there. Talk to the right people so that you get the right information. People have knowledge, but not adequate knowledge on the field that you're operating. So it's very important that you don't make too many assumptions. Talk to the right people, get the right information, and that will direct your investment activities. It is very important. The second thing is that in talking to the right people, you're prepared to pay for professional service. There's no doubt about it. It may not be that expensive, because if we make mistakes, it could be more expensive later on. So that's very important. The other aspect is that if you are an investor coming into the country, again, you don't make the assumption that the market is there for you. You have to do thorough market analysis. If you are investing money, you are expecting a return on your investment. And as I said, Ghana offers one of the best returns on investment, but don't make assumptions. The market is not homogeneous. You have to do thorough due diligence. Apart from analyzing your technical viability, the commercial viability, you still have to do a lot of analysis to see how the market operates.
I was looking at the American Embassy's advice to its businesses that were coming in, and they even went ahead to say that you should even come to the country before you come in and come and do your due diligence, meet with everybody before you come back in finally to start the business.
That's always very advisable. You don't just put money in and say you started.
Yeah.
You have to come to the country, you need to talk to the right people and do thorough market analysis, whether you're operating in the niche market or the general market. There are market dynamics that you probably do not know. If it is an investment in areas of oil and gas and the rest that perhaps you only have one source of market, there are still nuances that you need to know. You need to get all this right so that when you start your business, your projections are right, you are confident that you make the returns, and then it will enable you to expand. Again, don't start business have good ambitions, think big, but you can start small if it is possible, and then gradually snowball into other areas. Sometimes investors come with big objectives, so many things they want to do at the same time. It may not help you. focus on few areas that you have the expertise, you have the technology, you have the knowledge, you have the market. When you start even as successful, it encourages you to do more. And then
But
again,
are they not going by the Ghanaian style where we want to have a cocktail of everything? We want to do house, we want to do toys, we want to do oil gas, so they are also now registering, and then they cover almost 5, 6, 7, 8 areas of interest.
you see, when you do that, you will not have focus.
Yeah.
Business requires some level of intensity, focus, and attention. You need to do that. You need to be thorough. Business, you're investing money. You're investing your time, your energy, your effort, everything. And therefore, you can't spread yourself so thin, especially at the beginning. When you have actually reached a certain level and you have the business in the hands of good people, you have structures that is working, and you have systems that is actually foolproof and is working, you can then branch into other areas. Otherwise, you make a mistake. And then you don't even know which of the businesses is doing well. You don't know which one is bringing you down. And overspreading or overtrading in business can cause the whole business to flop. Yeah. So you really need to take account of that.
You've given me 4, actually. So that's beautiful. Evans, how many are you giving me? Because I think I boxed, said that you came out of the box.
With all the, risk factors. So I think, yes, let me add my voice to what Seth mentioned, that yes, the investment climate is now very well, grounded for investment to flow in. We've seen the macroeconomic indicators showing the correct, trend. So it is sort of ideal for investment to flow in. But yes, of course, all investments have risk. So for me, one of the mistakes that investors usually make is not doing the proper risk analysis, because it should be part of your due diligence that you're doing. As Seth mentioned, you need to identify all the various risks, because once there are returns, there are risks. Because the higher the risk, as they said, the higher the returns. Yeah. So you need to do all the risk mapping and identify what risk mitigation measures are available to be able to mitigate the risk. Some risks you can eliminate, some risks you can minimize, some risks there's nothing you can do about, they are out of your control, like FX. FX is managed by. So what you can do is to see how you can manage your, FX position or exposures exactly, because a lot of the external factors are out of your control. For instance, we have Iran-US war.
Who thought this would happen?
Yes, nobody thought it will happen. So if you are in a business that you are impacted by that, what was the risk analysis you did, and how do you react to this? And then the other thing that I'll mention is the compliance issues. Okay, some investors believe that once they set up an entity, that's it. But there are other issues you need to look at. Have you registered with a GIPC, especially if it's an enterprise that has foreign participation in it? You need to definitely register with the GIPC. And how do you take advantage of whatever incentives that are available for you? Okay. And then all the Ghana Revenue Authority requirements, Senate clearance, issues and all that. So you need to understand these compliance issues to be able to invest and make sure that you are adequately covered. Okay. So nothing springs up as a surprise for you. So those are the things.
But how easy is it, guys, to do this risk assessment? Because if a business is coming in from, let's say, the diaspora, maybe they want to go to real estate. The moment you start talking about the technicalities, I think is now a big, and bringing in, the likes of you guys is a whole, different discussion around that. How do we make them understand, or how easy is it to get access to you guys, get access to the HEIs and GIPCs and all that?
Exactly. That's the very reason you need a professional advisor to help you right from the beginning, because it is better to save your $1 million and pay maybe $10,000 for an advice than to bring your $1 million and lose everything without an advice. You get it? So forget about how expensive professional advice is. It could be more expensive if you don't seek advice, and then you lose your capital. So I think professional advice is critical. You as an investor, as we have said, you have to come in country, come and observe things yourself, travel the country, look at the infrastructure, and it gives you a first-hand view of what you are going to deal with. And then you can seek professional advice, and then based on that, you can deal with the risks that have been identified. Risk, as we said, some of them, there's not much you can do about it, okay? But the ones that are within your control, I think it's better you find solutions for them now. So as they come up, you're able to deal with these risk factors adequately.
We'll look at the legal requirements, regulatory and all that. But these mistakes that you guys have spoken, I think in the end we've got to like 8. What do you think leads to these mistakes popping up every now and then that investors seem coming?
So a couple of factors. One, most investors have basic knowledge. Some of them are even experts in their fields. You talked about real estate, for example. He's probably having real estate in another country. So he has all the knowledge. But you are coming to another country. There are cultural nuances. There are legal issues that you need to know. If you assume that the knowledge you had there will be 100% applicable here, you get it wrong. So sometimes your own internal and your own knowledge sometimes deceives you a little bit. Secondly, they talk to the wrong people. You meet somebody, a Ghanaian, okay, I want to invest in Ghana, and you start chatting. Oh, what business are you into? He mentions 1 or 2 business that he's doing. So you assume that he has knowledge in your field. For all you know, what he's talking to you about is more of his field. So the perception that once I've met a businessman, he also has adequate knowledge of the field and everything in the country is also wrong. Thirdly, apart from chancing on such people, you probably may have come in and you are also talking again to the wrong people. So talking to the wrong people wouldn't help. Again, you need to have a bit of patience for this. You're going to invest your money. And I traveled to the country, I'm in a hurry. There's 1 or 2 days. You may not have gathered adequate information. So you go to an office, it takes a while to get the right people to meet and gather the right information. You rush out thinking that you are okay. Then you come back and then you realize there are nuances. And then in picking information, that's where you need professional help. Because from your limited knowledge, you may think that you've picked adequate information, but it may not be that adequate. So you really need professionals to guide you, that you need this kind of information. This is more relevant for you in your case. And if you encounter a challenge of this nature, this is where you should go. You talk to the right institutions. So all this contribute to their inability to get it right sometimes at the beginning. So get the right people. Don't assume that once it worked elsewhere, it will work here. There are different cultural settings that you have to deal with, and you have to appreciate this right from the onset.
Yeah. Because, one of the cultural elements around us as Ghanaians, we are very friendly, we're very nice, we chit-chat a lot, we want to help. We say we've done it, but we may not have done it, and all these things, which also has an impact on some of these investment decisions or investors who come in. Cultural nuances and operational nuances, what are some that we should look out for and how to retail?
Sure. So, we are a very, hospitable people. We say Ghanaians are very, hospitable. We accept you, wherever that you're coming from, because we want to help you to be able to settle in. So some people use that to take advantage of investors, really. Okay, so when they see people are being nice to them, not necessarily that they may have some ulterior motives, but you just want to be careful of who you are talking to. If they are being nice to you, it doesn't necessarily mean they understand what they are talking about. Okay, yeah, so that's important, doing the integrity due diligence on the person. So one of the things that you need to also take care of is the integrity due diligence. Is this person somebody I want to associate with? Okay, so once you do that and you clear that head of reputational risk and all that, you clear that, then for cultural issues, you can go through all the governmental and public, structures, but there are also traditional issues that you need to deal with. So if you go into a place to mine, you can't just move them with a bulldozer to go and mine. There are traditional authorities you at least need to go and then pay homage to. So those cultural issues need to be taken into account, because once you are on the ground locally, you need their support to be able to make your business thrive. So culturally, that is one thing that needs to be taken care of. And then Ghanaians too are a bit calm in terms of the way we communicate. So for instance, giving feedback to Ghanaians, some people say we speak indirectly, while some Africans are quite direct. They give it to you. So we are a bit polite, a bit, respectful. So Ghanaians always have that tendency to speak in a calm voice, and rather than being a bit more aggressive as compared to some of the other African countries. So those are some of the cultural nuances. Operationally, I think the critical thing is infrastructure. Once you come in, you need to really, especially if you are taking advantage of locational benefits. Are you locating in a capital city out of Accra Are you locating in a special economic zone? Where is it located? Do you have adequate infrastructure, the road network, utilities available, enough warehousing for your goods if you need warehousing? So all that infrastructure is required to be able to support your business. So operational factors, those are the critical things that need to be considered if you are investing here in Ghana.
I mean, across the world, we people in the business sector, and yeah, especially in Ghana, who plays a key role, and it's part of our culture. And if you have said has a problem, you probably call ABCD to help, even though maybe they go to another channel. How do you also play around that? Because it's a big thing we add to our business circles.
Yeah, it's very important. In fact, in business, we call it social capital. You have good network, it's a big capital by itself, but it takes time to develop. And it takes a lot of effort also. You need to respect the people you meet. As he said, because we are calm in our nature, and then you meet Ghanaians and you go aggressively in an abrasive manner, small issue, you attack them and all that. You don't develop relationship out of that. Become also network with people. And here, in part of our social and cultural life, we invite you for all kinds of events. It could be funeral, it could be adoring. It was so many events. Occasionally, make time and it touch base with people. When you do that, you develop this network. It works a lot. When you are in difficulty, you pick a phone, you call a colleague, you call a friend, and they are there to help you. All you need to know is know somebody who knows somebody. Of course, the legal issues are there. The rights you have are preserved. They are for you. But then you need people to be able to move. We know the challenge we have. Our systems are not, doesn't work as efficiently as may be happening in other countries. But it still works. The laws are there. It protects you. So sometimes if you know somebody who can help you a little bit, it helps you to move a bit faster. For example, you need some particular expertise in a particular area. You may advertise all right, but people may point out to few people who say, oh, can you talk to this person? You talk to your professional, they can help you recruit the right kind of people. The aspect of the cultural bit which I also want to add is that wherever at the operational level, you are working in communities and you have the legal right because you probably might have acquired your land properly. You have registered your business. You have gone through GIPC. So you've done all the legal, issues, that requirements. You've met all of them. So you are operating. So no problem. However, you are working in a community. Just be fair to the community. There are local content issues you will take account of. People working, indigenous in the community, doing recruitment, can you take a certain percentage of them so that they protect your business because they have an interest? Okay, and when the community is doing something, it could be celebration of something. Can you have to get involved a little bit? Sponsor things. Do small. It may not cost you as much. Sometimes people frown over these things, but how much does it cost you? That small thing you give can pave way for you in so many ways. And when you are respected in the community because you respect them, you'll be surprised. And even if there are challenges, even when your own workers are happy with you, people will come in and calm them down. There are so many ways of solving problems. There's no point in always taking the legal route. I'll sue you in court, I'll do this. You're spending so much time in court and you have your business to manage, you have your money to make, and you are wasting time on that. You can resolve issues. There are ways of resolving issues amicably. There are arbitration centers. And our communities, our chieftains, our traditional people, they are very smart in resolving issues. You'll be surprised. Even business issues that comes to them, they'll sit with you. You would think they are not that exposed. You're lying. They are very, very much exposed. Some of them even have businesses. They'll sit with you before they resolve your issues for you. So take account of this. It's not a system that is very regimental. It's a bit structured, but semi-structured, so to speak. So therefore, take account of it. Take advantage of the traditional nuances, a community involvement and all that. It will help your business to grow.
Okay. This is the Invest Ghana podcast under the auspices of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. Remember that we're doing this in partnership with Akona Pod. We're using their creative studios to shoot this particular podcast. Now, this podcast looks at the investment terrain. So anything you need to know around investment in Ghana, this is a podcast you need to be watching. And I'm Vivian Kailoko, taking you through all the issues around the investment terrain. We're talking about the mistakes to avoid if you want to do business here in Ghana. And Seth and Evans are helping us to understand the issues. Guys, let's look at the technical part. Let's start with the regulatory issues that people need to know about, and the ones that they may, have issues, what they have to do or who they should be speaking to. So regulations, which basics should you take before you start doing business?
Sure. Obviously, what comes to mind is if you are coming here to set up an entity, you need to think of what entity you want to register with the Registrar of Companies. Okay. So we have a new Companies Act, okay, that was passed. So you need to understand whether you are coming in as a subsidiary, as a branch, as a representative office. Okay. So you need to understand that will help you to determine what kind of entity you set up in here. Then you need to be able to set it up right to make sure that you meet the minimum capital thresholds that are set out by the GIPC. So there are certain specific minimum capital threshold for certain entities, especially when it is foreign owned, wholly owned, or it is partly. So for instance, where it is partly foreign owned today, I think the GIPC Act is still undergoing, and there's a bill that has been passed waiting for presidential assent. I think there have been some reviews, but what we know is that for $200,000, okay, for a business that has foreign participation, a wholly owned entity, I think it's about $500,000. But I think it's being reviewed. Okay, most of these things have been reviewed. So then the new act, I think, is going to go off for trading.
Investors should look out for the new
act that is going to be. So once the president assents to that act, which was passed sometime in, was it March? I think, yes, in March, yes. Yeah, so if the president assents to it and there are no revisions, then I think that's the one that is going to, regulate investment. So I think the threshold has been reduced for trading companies from, I think, $1 million to $500,000, okay? And so those are some of the nuances that you need to be aware of. The other thing is a local content requirement. So there are certain specific sectors that require local participation. So for instance, the petroleum sector, services require a minimum of 15% local content. Okay, mining, there is 10% carried interest for government, and then some mining services are also reserved for local, players to be able to provide. You could talk about tax. You will need to register your business for tax purposes. If you are not even making profit, people make the assumption that, no, as long as I'm not even operating, I'm not going to file. No, I mean, filing is different from.
So at least file.
Exactly. Just make sure that you file your returns and then declare that you haven't made any profit. But not to file at all is an offense. Okay. And then, of course, if you are employing Ghanaians who are supposed to, be on the insurance, national insurance, you need to make sure that you are paying their SNET contributions and all the other pensions that they are due, because not doing so also has its own implications for you. So these are some of the regulatory issues that you need to be aware of. And of course, the environmental side of things. If you are doing something that has to do with EPA, you make sure that you obtain the necessary certification from EPA, from Ghana Standards Authority, if you need that standard, authority to give you some licensing. And then, of course, the Food and Drugs Authority, if you need their, license or products, to be certified to be able to sell. These are some of the things that investors need to be aware of in terms of the regulatory environment.
So as you, SGI boss, you deal with all these regulations. Which are the...
Yes. So I think he said most of them.
Yeah.
And the only advice I would give is that, again, you shouldn't make assumptions that once I register my business, I'm good to go. There are other institutions in certain specific business areas that require further regulations. If you go to the petroleum industry, for example, when you're registering, you can have a registered general certificate. You may have even registered with GIPC, but you still need to register with the Petroleum Commission. And there is also a requirement. You can't even register a wholly foreign owned business. You have to go into joint ventureship with Ghanaian. So you need to know that. And then in the money industry, as you mentioned, there are local content requirements. And even in the petroleum industry and other industries, on a yearly basis, you have to be filing your returns or submitting your reports, because as much as possible, the country wants to benefit from the oil find, and therefore even your technical staff You need to have an arrangement of training and developing capacities of local Ghanaians. And all this must be submitted to the Petroleum Commission on a yearly basis. If you don't submit, they have every right to deny you of renewing your license.
But how do people, who do they talk to when, you know, to
There are
know that
institutions.
like when they're registering, is there somebody to...
There are institutions responsible for all this.
Okay.
So, for example, in the petroleum, we have the Petroleum Commission. At the time you are registering with the registrar general, and then you come to GIPC, they will tell you which institutions you should be dealing with in addition to them. And then he talked about the tax authority. Very important. You are doing good business, and suddenly, just because you are not filing your tax returns or not doing the right thing, and then an officer comes to you and says, I'm closing your business. And they have every right, legal right, to close your business if you are not confirming and complying with the laws. So just get to know, and it is not peculiar to Ghana. Investors know that these matters, these legal issues, is everywhere. Some areas, some countries are even stricter than ours. So all you need to know is that how does it work in Ghana? Which of the regulations do I have to comply with? And then in doing so, if you have a difficulty as an investor, talk to professionals, and they'll give you all the... Our institutions are not that difficult. If you have a challenge and you discuss with them, they'll figure it out. They'll find a way to help you. The other thing that I also add is the fact that and to deal with this, you also talk to business associations, because you have people who have experiences. In Nigeria, for example, we have local investors, local indigenous businesses. We also have a lot of foreign businesses that are located there and are doing business. And they are all networked within the system, and they will share their experiences with you. I add that, you have control over a lot of things. You decide how much you have to invest. You decide who to employ. We decide where to get your raw materials. A lot of them are within your control. Factors within your control, you can manage it. But there are external factors you cannot manage, and you cannot manage alone. That's where business associations becomes very important, because they deal with the ecosystem. They are influencing policy. If inflation is not, exchange rate is not good, they can talk to government. They are representing the private sector on boards of government institutions. They are influencing policies. So you have to be part of a network. Networking is key, as called the social capital, as I mentioned earlier. And if you're a business worth its salt, you will not ignore the importance of some of these key organizations that can help you to have a proper ecosystem, so that when you are concentrating in managing your business, you can manage it well and get the best returns out of it.
Okay, we'll look at some of the institutions, a role. You've touched bits of it, the likes of AGI, the likes of KPMG, GIPC, and all that. But also when it comes to compliance as well, which other boxes should they tick, and the consequences of not ticking these boxes?
So as I said, professional advice, you cannot dispense with it. Okay, so seeking professionals to be able to help you to list all the compliance, things that you need to satisfy. And at the end of we can help you to do all the filings. So professionals like us can help you. In fact, right from the beginning of your market entry strategy, whilst you are coming in, you can help you do the strategy. Okay, to how do you come in? Do you acquire? Which licenses do you obtain? So we can help you put all that together in the market entry strategy. And then once you can get to the implementation stage, we can help you set up the entity. Okay, then at that point, you can identify all the institutions you need to be able to interface during the course of your business. Okay, so if it is, for instance, land, we would let you know which land authority is responsible for that. So if it's the Lands Commission, you need to go to and do your search. Then you need to go there. If you buy the land and then you have a lease, you do your papers, you need to go and then do the titling. We'll help you to do the titling, either from the, whichever location, whether it's in Accra or whichever, we'll help you go through that process to be able to do that. If it is about company registration, going to the registrar of companies, what kind of entity? Is it a partnership? Is it a subsidiary? Is it sole proprietor? Whatever that you want to do, we can help you to do that. And then you structure in such a way that it becomes tax efficient, because that's one of the things people don't also, I'm coming as a subsidiary. Maybe subsidiary might not be the ideal way to come in. Maybe you need to come in a strategic partnership arrangement, so that you don't have a permanent presence per se. So maybe you have to come in, as a subsidiary and properly set up here. So all of it comes with its own tax requirements. So that advice is needed. And then we've talked about sector-specific things. So petroleum, we've talked about petroleum commission. If you need energy commission certification for something, you need to go to energy commission for that. If you go to the mining sector, the minerals commission, you need that, whether you're going for prospecting licenses or exploration, or you are going to do mining and you need a mining lease. So all these institutions, you need to be to understand what they require for you to get the license to operate. Okay, once you have the license to operate, then what are the various reporting schedules? Is it monthly, quarterly, annually reports that you need to submit to them, okay, to be able to fulfill whatever requirements that they have? And then we talk about SNATE. Okay, so that's Social Security and Insurance Trust. So that's one area to that. If you also miss, you have penalties, you have interest charges that you need to pay. So we can help you to do all that assessment and then help you file at the right time. And you also need to be aware of the timing for filing. So for taxes, there are specific dates you need to file. There are some requirements that at the end of the fiscal year, which is December, maybe you need to file by end of March. Certain sectors require you, so especially in the financial services sector, you need to file your accounts by end of March. And then some also probably sometime in April. Then for VAT and other things, there are specific dates that you need to file all those returns. So those are areas that you need professional advice. You can Google it out and know, but I mean, implementing it is another thing which you need professional advice.
Just to add one or two institutions, as we mentioned, very specific sectors of institutions.
So he's mentioned one, let's say the KPMG, those in the consultancy, the likes of KPMG.
Yes, but I'm also adding that when it comes to the regulatory requirements or between institutions, the Ghana Standards Authority and the Food and Drugs Authority, they are very important if you are related to them. If you're in food and drugs area, food and drugs is a must. You need to have it. Standards Authority, very important for all other products you produce. What is also important in this area is also certification. It's not enough to say my product is good. You need to have a certification. That certification mark on your product, it guarantees certain level of quality and give assurance to the market that indeed you are compliant and you're good, your product is meeting certain requirements. Another one that you shouldn't ignore is you are located within a community, so property rates. Sometimes you take it for granted and it's hardly mentioned, but you'll be surprised that the metropolitan area that you're operating in would, if you don't pay your property rate, they come on you. These are not very expensive. Actually, AGR represents the private sector in a lot of the assemblies in negotiating for property rate for businesses. So in Tema, we are there, in Accra, in Kumasi, and every year we sit and negotiate on behalf of businesses. So we make sure we get it right, because we are private sector and we want the community to also benefit from some revenue to develop it, because the street lighting, community security, for own development, and it helps a lot, and it can push a lot of agenda for businesses. So when you are there, you must also support. But it's not just support, it's a requirement when you register your business. So these are small things that you need to know. I can understand that if you're an investor and you are listening to us, you say, what is all these plenty things? They are not as many. When you start, you snowball into all these. You don't get everything right from the go. But with time, you get to know that these are in a year's time, because as he said, it's yearly filing of returns and all that. But when you start, in a year's time, you would have gotten to know all these, and you should be able to do it, because you're employing accountants, you're employing people who are also going to help you with all these nuances of the business, and you should be able to manage it.
I like the way you guys have gone through some of the key institutions related to the sectors, but which umbrella institutions as well can people directly deal with before they even take the step? For example, like likes of GIPC, JGI, you can run us through maybe 3 or 4 each.
Yes, so we've mentioned the AGI. Then we have the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which also puts together businesses in Ghana. And then we have those that are a combination of foreign and then, local businesses. So you have the UK Chamber of Commerce, Then you have the South Africa Chamber, as well. Then the French Chamber,
they have the
Canadian,
one.
yes.
They have the US Chamber.
So these chambers and then, industry associations are really important, because they also advocate for members they present papers to government for how they can support their business. So it's important that we engage some of these businesses. Aside that, I think the consulting firms as another group of people, and then we have the tax advisors, okay, those who are also helping you with your tax filings. And then of course we cannot ignore security people. I mean, the fire service, for instance. There are some businesses that you need
their
fire
certification.
certification. For instance, if you are going into an explosive industry, you need a fire service, you need a security services to be able to escort you, especially when you are traveling with an explosive. So these are specific specialized areas that you need support, and then to speak to the right people to be able to give you the certification to do that business.
Okay. So that we covered everybody.
I think we've covered
main ones, like
we
yours.
covered the main ones.
So how do we get
but-
to people like you
yeah,
when
so-
the
so-
investor
so
is coming?
It's an opportunity to talk about it.
Yes, please.
Like, see, AGI
I'll
is,
charge you though.
yeah, don't worry, I will pay. AGI is a big association,
Yes.
umbrella association, and has businesses across sectors. We have 23 different sectors, businesses of small, medium, large companies, local indigenous businesses, and then multinationals as well. So we cut across sectors, and when you come to, it's not difficult at all to get access through the net. You can approach us, you can talk to us, pick our phones and call us, and we'll register you. Apart from giving you the opportunity to network with other people, we also give you the opportunity of working with us in policy advocacy. We influence a lot, and I can assure you we do that a lot.
Oh, you are very influential.
Yes, by law, we represent the private sector and a number of boards of government institutions. We influence policies even at those levels, and government respect us. You don't receive government subvention, it's purely private, but it's as old as Ghana. It's just 1 year younger than Ghana. So we have all the networks to make sure that when your businesses are having challenges and you come to India, they will help you. Of course, there are other institutions, but I think that sometimes we don't have to belittle the importance of these groupings. They are very, very important. As I said, you have control over certain internal matters that you are managing. But there are external things that can hit you that you don't have control, and that can hit you bad and your business can go bad. So you need to be part of a network. In addition, individual cases are also handled by associations like us. So it's very important that you get involved, and then don't just be a passive member. Be active. When you write for meetings, you participate, and so on and so forth. So these networks are important.
I run a business. Before we leave here, I'll join your association.
I will-
hope
I
that
mean,
the registration-
KPMG is a member of
KPMG is a
AGI.
member.
We are
That's the
member.
beauty of
And then
it.
we
Let
are-
Tyler,
we are
let's
members.
join you.
We join almost all the business association, UK chamber, the German, Ghanaian economic,
Yes.
then we joined the South Africa. We
Okay.
joined, so we are members of even American chamber, armchair. So we join. We are members. We
Yes.
are
Take
members
part
in
in
good
what
standing.
we
We
are
take
doing.
part.
Yeah.
We are knowledge partners.
Yeah.
We even share ideas on business, environment and the landscape. We give them presentations on the investment, environment
the
and what are
reports
the,
you do
exactly.
and all
Yeah.
that.
So that those are the ways we share, knowledge to some of these
So then
businesses.
you
yeah.
have to tell me, I mean, as somebody running a digital media firm and then also a fashion business, how I can also take part and be active.
Yes, because we actually have different sectors. One of the sectors is textiles and garments, so all the fashion people are there. We also have ICT sector, and we have executive that manage this sector and their own colleague businesses. So someone like you is so influential. When you can join the executives and you start influencing. And we push a lot of agenda, and government wants information from the private sector. They need the input of the private sector in making policies, because you can't do policies that is not connecting to the people. Otherwise, there's no point. So you need to influence at all these levels, and you do very well at it.
Okay, we're wrapping up. I mean, if you have an advice to any investor coming in, foreign, diaspora specific, local investor, whatever, in a minute, what would you say this person should do? What should they look at from your side? And then we'll come to you, Evans.
Well, I think that first of all, we've said it and I'll repeat, that Ghana is an investment country, a country that has good potential for everybody who wants to invest. Returns on investment in Ghana is very high, so we encourage you to come. But whilst coming, get it right. Getting it right means that you must seek for information, you must use professional advice and get the right information and make that effort. Eventually, as an entrepreneur, every business is risk. take that risk, but do the analysis and take the risk. When you take the right step and the right risk, you are very likely to succeed. And your success, you must acknowledge and recognize institutions that work with you, continue to be part of it, and I'm sure you will succeed and get the return on your investments.
So what I would say is that do your due diligence and learn how Ghana works. I mean, one size doesn't fit all. A model might have worked somewhere else, but it may not necessarily work in Ghana. So come do your due diligence, know how Ghana works, the behaviors, the preferences, the cultural nuances, and then tailor your products to meet what Ghanaians want. Ghana is a thriving country. We have strong institutions, rule of law is, solid, and then we have strong judiciary, strong, executive, and then of course legislation. So we have all the laws. Just come and then just be compliant, and then you succeed.
So thank you very much for watching us. This is the Invest Ghana podcast under the auspices of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, also in partnership with Akona Pod Studios. They are giving us their creative studios to use for these podcasts. Now, if you want to be part of these conversations, which are great, telling you everything around investment in Ghana, subscribe to our YouTube page. Remember, these podcasts will also be on all the GIPC platforms on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, whatever you. So be part of the conversations throughout. I'm Vivek Kailoko. Bye-bye.